So let me take it from there and ask, off of what I was initially saying, the old adage is if you want to send a message, use Western Union. And that seems generally ignored by musical theater these days. Musicals are rarely purely escapist entertainment anymore. And I want to ask everybody on the panel, we'll start with Christine and work our way down. How do you account for that? Why do you think musicals have taken on this extra burden of wanting and desiring and trying to send a message to their audiences?
Well, I don't pretend to really know, except that I personally like that. I mean, I don't like it when you're preaching to me. But, I mean, I like to see a show and walk away understanding maybe something a little more about the human condition than I knew when I walked in. I want to laugh a lot while I'm doing it, and I want to have, some, heartfelt, fabulous experiences. I don't want it all in my head. But I like that when I sense something being said to me about, the challenge of being a human being and being in this world and trying to not mess it up. I like that.
Jeffrey?
I don't. Again, I don't pretend to know exactly why, but I would say that just the nature of storytelling having to evolve and be more interesting for audience members and for creators to feel as though they're creating something new to put more issue-oriented material in their shows. Just the evolution of storytelling and how you create a show, just to make it different from the ones that came before.
Montego?
I think these are very important times, and we live in an age where information is available to us. The world is smaller, we can get more places faster, and we have to remember that while we have all of this information and all of these luxuries and all of these opportunities to make strides in industry and in music and art and other kinds of forms, we have to remember to take them seriously and know what our history is. So I think it's important that musicals, like any other art form, be able to teach in some way, because we have to remember that we still have work to do. We know a lot, but there's a lot more to learn, to know, and our history is part of it. So musicals are instrumental, actually, in doing that, because they are so popular with people. They're very accessible.
Chad?
I hate following you. I agree. We switched places. The great thing, I was in Los Angeles for the last 3 years. Yes, and coming back to New York and just being away from the vibrancy of musical theater, and then coming back and seeing it. The thing that hits me is the magic, the absolute magic that theater brings, and the way that the art form touches people is so different. So I think that there is a responsibility on some level, just because it is so powerful, such a powerful art form.
Tom?
I think that whether you're a performer or a writer or a director, if you work in this art form, everyone has their story about what made them want to do this in the first place. Their romantic story for some people who wanted to dance. It was seeing the dance musicals. And for people like me, the shows that made me want to become an artist for musical theater were Cabaret and Hair and Rent. And over the last few years, a number of shows, Spring Awakening and so on, that were dealing with not just issues that felt entertaining, but issues that made you want to talk about them after you saw the show and think about them. And so something like Next to Normal for me, came right out of Stephen Sondheim, came right out of Folles and Into the Woods, shows that I didn't expect to feel the way I did after I saw them. And I think there's room for everything, but what's wonderful now is that people are able to take more risks and say, I want to write a musical about a subject matter that might not seem like the normal fare, might not seem commercial, but I think it has something to say, and I think it's a real golden age for that right now. It's really so thrilling to be a part of.
David?
I agree with that whole notion of storytelling, because I think that's actually a lot of what we do. We tell stories, and what strikes us as interesting is got to inspire us at 2 in the morning when we're working on that script, or at 4 in the morning when we're still working. So I'm sure you feel that. You feel that when you find that subject that really gets you fired up. But it's all about that storytelling. I wish I could say that I you set out to do something and it has to have a message. I think sometimes the message emerges much later than you think it does, and then it becomes very evident that this is what you've been drawn to. But it is that notion, just as Jeffrey said, the story itself, because that's what we all are here, and that's what I think hopefully we bring to everybody in this room is that tradition of storytelling. And with it, I think what comes to it, which is very exciting, is when you can find a message that actually touches people. But the crazy part about it is all the work we do starts, 8 years or 6 years or 5 years earlier than it ever evolved, before it ever arrives on Broadway. And there's like the crazy intersection that sometimes it might hit or touch a nerve. But I would say that was never intentional when we started. It's just like, I had brown hair, I think, when I started writing it. It's got
What color was your hair, David, when you started?
I lost it at 19. So. It's always hard as a writer to answer a question, about the industry or about, my brother and I, we write from our heart, and we definitely, Yank started out in a very political way because it's a story about gay soldiers during World War II, and that just intersects with so many conversations that are happening in the country. But the deeper we got into it, the more it just became about the lives of the characters on stage, and that itself can become a political act, or just to recognize a history that's been erased. But to me, the reason that it's powerful to see stories like that is because theater is an event, and you have to intersect with the world as it is, and you have to bring joy and entertainment within the piece itself, but also have it be about something bigger. And I think great plays intersect with the world and are also true to themselves, and I think there's no reason why a great musical shouldn't do that as well. And I think that in order to justify spending the money to see a Broadway show and into turning off your cell phone and having just time to just live with people in a space, you need something bigger that really feels like it's speaking to more than just your desire to be entertained, which you can be entertained in a lot of ways, but for me the soulfulness and the beauty of being entertained in a way that also makes you think is just more pleasurable, honestly.
Very good, thank you all. It's a follow-up question now for all of you, and it's specific to the shows that you're most currently involved with. Given that we're accepting that now theater is a more serious medium, musical theater is a more serious medium than it used to be, what makes the message that your plays are about, your musicals are about, not only palatable to the audience but actually enjoyable? What is it that you're doing and have done in these shows that makes them work, in your view, and makes them an entertainment while they're also sending those messages?
Do I have to be first?
Well, no, we'll go the other way now.
Oh, great.
This way, Chad, you're going to get to go first.
There you go. She's on a roll.
We were really lucky with Yank because early on we realized that the more we hewed to the original form of a 40s musical, the more subversive it would be. So we didn't have to overlay it with too much message because it's implicit in the whole idea of Yank. So we could focus on our love of that era and the joy that we have in that style. And when we started writing Yank, a lot of musicals, even musicals we loved, felt very ironic, or they were just really, really loud. And we thought, let's see if we can do something. Let's see if an audience still wants to accept something small and joyous and beautiful like Brigadoon or Oklahoma. And could people still respond to that? And by telling a story in that style that couldn't be told then, we could focus on the joy. And I love musicals, so why. I don't want to comment on it all the time. Sometimes I want to just embrace the beauty of the form. So.
Yeah, I think that notion of entertaining is actually is fundamental to what it is that we do. Having had the great